Hey, how's it going guys? Teysind here and welcome to my first ever collection video. So being a new channel, I thought what better way than to introduce you guys to all the games and figures and anime and stuff that I have in my collection so you can better get to know me and sort of the games that I've played and love, and especially sort of the history of what got me into sort of these interests and stuff, and more specifically the type of games that I play today. So we're going right back to the beginning today with my PlayStation 1 collection. And first off the list, the first game that I got for the PS1 was Final Fantasy VIII. I got this brand new from store when I was a kid. And Final Fantasy VIII is a game that is polarizing to many people. You either love it or you hate it. I personally love it a lot, and I mean I'm a bit biased because it was the first Final Fantasy game that I ever got and played. But I found I enjoyed the story, but what I really liked about the game is the side quests. So there are a lot of optional and secret bosses that you could basically go through the whole game and essentially not even know they're there. And I really like that sort of uh, secret sort of areas to the game, and the fact that they're really challenging, and more so challenging than like the final bosses of the game. And I mean the card game as well. So that's if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy games, it's a little mini game, and it's in Final Fantasy 9 as well. I know it's in Final Fantasy 14. Not sure about other games. Final Fantasy 10 has Blitzball and stuff like that. But this card game, I mean, I can't really explain. You'd have to play it because it's just so good. But Final Fantasy 8 definitely has the best card game, and you go around the globe and you keep collecting different cards, like you get different summons and stuff, or GFs in this game. They're called Guardian Forces. But yeah, so that's the first game, and going on to the second is Final Fantasy 7. Another awesome game. I got this also when I was a kid, but I didn't get it brand new. It was actually given to me by a work colleague of my father. I saw he had the game and I was like, I've never played that game. I really want to play it. And then he just said, here, you can have it. And I was shocked. I mean, I didn't know what to think really, because he just gave it to me like that. I mean, looking back on it, I think he had 2 copies of the game, but the fact that he just so generously gave it to me, I mean, till this day, it's basically shaped a lot of, sort of the games that I'm interested in today, all because of this one game. And I mean, if you've already played Final Fantasy 7, you'd know that you'd had this sort of the similar experience to me, because it is one of those games where the story is just so strong. I find the story is something that still stands to today. The graphics not so much, but fortunately they have re-released like the Steam version, PS4 version to play, and then now with the remake, thank you. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So yeah, that's the second game. On to the third is Final Fantasy 9. Also got this brand new when I was a kid. Love the story. Such a good story as well. The only thing that really, I wouldn't say puts me off, but doesn't make me enjoy, put it like on the right at the top of the Final Fantasy games I love, is the fact that there aren't as many secret slash side bosses as there are in like Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 7, and there's a lot of other Final Fantasy games that have a lot of secret optional bosses and stuff. And Final Fantasy 9, I mean, don't quote me on how many there are. I can count 2, sort of 3, but really the main one I can think of is the big circle ball one. I know there is another one. I think it's Hades or something, but the fact that that's what I really love in these Final Fantasy games. I love a strong story, but then you can go off afterwards and you just have all this end game content where you can go and just try and get as strong as you can, and even at the strongest level, you're still having such a challenge against these bosses. It's like it really makes you sort of become that better player, because you're not just relying on strength and stuff. I mean, not that you do with these Final Fantasy games, but there are a lot of story bosses where once you get to a certain level, you can easily take them out. Whereas with these side quest bosses and stuff, it really gets to that point where you can't get any higher in terms of strength and stats and stuff, and they can still kill you just as quickly. So yeah, that's another game that I really loved playing as a kid. And on to next game I also got as a kid, and that was Legend of Dragoon. This game is really cool too. I also got it brand new when I was a kid. Thank gosh, because this game actually goes for a fortune now. It's definitely one of the most expensive PS1 games that I see, at least in Australia. I think in US it's a lot cheaper. But yeah, I got this, at the retail price, which wasn't that much. I think about $50 Australian. At least comparing it to now, it goes for like 150, 200 sometimes. And what I really like about this game, besides the story, is they've got this added feature to the RPG turn-based where upon selecting attacks, as you make the attacks, there's sort of basically sequential timing. So if you press certain buttons at certain moments, it increases your damage and also increases the combos you do. I know later on that's been introduced to games like Lost Odyssey and stuff on the 360, but back then it was the first I'd ever actually played an RPG that had this sort of element, and it did make it frustrating at times, especially when you don't hit it, and it could actually turn the tides on your battle negatively, but also in a good way if you do get it right. But the fact that it added that extra sort of feature was something that really drew me to the gameplay of it. Story-wise, I never finished it. I think I either got to the end of the first disc boss or the second disc, and I couldn't beat him. And it wasn't that like I could never beat him. It's just I tried a few times, and I was playing another I think it was a Final Fantasy game I was playing at the same time, and then I just got so focused on that I never went back to finish The Legend of Dragoon. So it's definitely on my list to finish quite soon. And next on the list is Spyro the Dragon. I'm sure a lot of you guys have played this one. I actually got this. This was a game I got recently, but I played it as a kid. So I got that. We used to rent it at like, I can't remember, the Video Easy or Blockbuster back then. And I beat it several times. So the fact that I saw it recently at a store for quite cheap, because it's not that cheap on eBay now, or at least when you find it, it generally gets taken pretty quickly. So I think I got it for maybe $35, which, it could be cheap, could be not cheap, depends on how you look at it. But the fact that I got it again, I just went straight and played through it again pretty quickly. So, definitely brought back a lot of memories. And shortly after that, it made me get Spyro 2. Now, this game I got amazingly cheap. I got from cash converters for $4, that's all. So I don't know, I think they just put it out on the shelf and I saw it and I just went and got it. No question about it. I mean, it's platinum and I try and get the black labels, but for $4 I'm not going to complain with that. So, also, I beat this game as a kid too. It was one I rented out, but I haven't beaten it since I've purchased it. Definitely something I want to go back and beat again. But I think they released it on the PS3, like 1, 2 and 3. So I might just get that and then I can play with the wireless controller and stuff, and I don't have to worry too much about it goes to HDMI port, so I mean it's just a cleaner image, you could say. It depends, but we'll see how we go. I might play digitally. I might actually, if I find the third one in disc, then I'll just play them all in disc. And next game I got is Chrono Cross. I still haven't played this game. The only reason I hadn't played it is because when I got it, which was years ago, I didn't have Chrono Trigger at the time, and this is before the DS one was released. So you'd need either Super Nintendo to play, which I didn't have. You'd need to get the imported version, which I think it comes in the Final Fantasy Chronicles or something. It's one of the Final Fantasy games. I think it's maybe Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger together, which is hard to get because I couldn't shop on eBay at that age, or even get a way to get that game. And then there was, and then it finally came out on the DS. I mean, there's emulation, but I didn't want to play it emulated. And I only just recently got Chrono Trigger on the DS, so the fact that I've only just recently got it, I'm going to play through that, and then once I finish, play through Chrono Cross. So yeah, and next on the list, Final Fantasy VI. This is a game I also haven't played, and I really want to play it. I mean, so many people say this is the best Final Fantasy hands down that they've played. They all say Kafka is the ultimate villain. And the only reason I haven't played it is because I want to play the Game Boy Advance version, because it does have additions to it that is not included in this one. And I think the translation it's done better. Well, it's the most recent Final Fantasy VI iteration, you could say. And things like that, I think the sounds, the sort of gameplay sounds and stuff, that they've brought back the original Super Nintendo sounds. So I really want to get that one and play it. But the thing is, I've never really found an actual Australian copy of Final Fantasy VI. So because of that, I'm still on the lookout, and yeah, because of that, I still haven't played it. But definitely one to get. I mean, hopefully they actually do like a whole remake after Final Fantasy 7 of Final Fantasy 6. But yeah, so on to the next one is Vagrant Story. Another game I just got recently, so I still haven't played it either. Got it pretty cheap. I think I got about $20 or something. Not a game that you see around much. I believe it sort of takes place in Ivalice, which is sort of the where Final Fantasy 12 takes place. I don't know if it takes place in this whole like same continuum or universe or so, or you know whether it's actually part of the Final Fantasy world or Final Fantasy 12 world. But definitely one to get onto soon. And next on the list is Parasite Eve 2. Also got it recently. I got it for about $25 or so. Still haven't played it because I haven't got Parasite Eve 1. And for those of you who are from my side of the world, we never got Parasite Eve 1. So I'd actually have to get a US import version. And it costs a lot to get one from America because the shipping costs a lot. And also sometimes the PS1 cases get cracked coming over internationally if they're not packed well enough. And that's one of those things, you sort of don't want to get them cracked because, you know, one, they crack easily, and two, they're not something that you can easily just replace because these ones have like the, if you can see here, they're like the actual bigger cases, so they're not something that you can easily replace. But hopefully I find someone locally selling the US copy, and then once I go on that, I can play through them both. But yeah, so next game on the list is Guys, God Bless the Ring. Also got this recently, quite cheap, between $20 and $30, and I mean it's another one of those rare PS1 games that, at least in my side of the world, you don't necessarily find for that cheap, or you really don't really find it in the wild. But I really like this game prior to Cloud coming out of Super Smash Bros. So for those who have played it, you know, Cloud's in it. So I usually just played it just as Cloud. I know there's two parts of the game. I think there's like a story RPG element, I think, and then there's the fighting half of the game. So I just played the fighting half, and like I was saying, I really liked playing this game until Cloud came with Super Smash Brothers, and now I just play Super Smash Brothers. But yeah, last on the list, most recent PS1 game I got, and probably game I've been wanting the longest on the PS1, and that is Xenogears. I absolutely love Xenoblade Chronicles. I just recently got Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Xenogears is also another game that never got released in Australia. So it was always, and I mean it costs so much to get in the US. Even there, it sells quite a bit. But just recently, someone here in Australia was selling on eBay, and I think no one was watching it because I guess people don't really pay attention to this game here because one, either they don't know about it because it wasn't released here, or two, they just don't have a way to play it because they don't have a modded PS2 or anything, or PS1, so they can't play imported games. Fortunately, I can. So when I saw it, I think there's only one other person bid it, so I got it for $20. It is the Greatest Hits version, and I try and get Black Label, but when it comes to a US NTC game, I'm not that fussy because it's already going to be a hard game to get to begin with. So the fact that I got it and for so cheap, I mean, definitely can't complain with that. But I mean, this is a game that I really want to play, and the only reason I haven't played it is because I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles X at the moment and stuff like that. But once I'm done with those games, then I want to go back to this game and play it, and then I'll probably then when I play this game, I can sort of see some of the things elements that have been kept from this game into the new ones. I mean, I know this game you can play with mechs and stuff too. You couldn't do that in Xenoblade Chronicles. At least I'm not to a part where you can, but with Xenoblade Chronicles X you can. So I guess that's sort of like you could say, it's not just a spiritual successor to Xenoblade Chronicles, but Xenoblade Chronicles X is sort of also a spiritual successor to Xenogears. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that does it for my PS1 collection. I hope you enjoyed all the games I've got. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe you guys have some of these games. Maybe you guys want some of these games. Maybe you guys have even beaten some of these games that I haven't beaten yet. But yeah, let me know your stories. I'm sure we've all got quite a lot. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, stay spot on.